What's going on, everybody? I'm Matt Harmon. Welcome to the Yahoo Fantasy Forecast, and it is a hell of a day to talk ball. We've got a big show for you here today. Justin Boone, the People's Panic Meter, waiver wire selections. We've got a ton to get into, but before we dive into that, we do, of course, have to talk Monday Night Football, the solo recap, as we always do here on these shows. Jaguars 31, Chiefs 28. What a weird football game, man. I mean, this is the type of game at the end of the contest, the final drive, where if you missed it, somehow you slept through this one and you haven't watched the highlights back yet. I can only explain the Jaguars' game-winning touchdown by Trevor Lawrence on a scramble, which, I mean, it feels stupid to even say that. He gets tripped up in the pocket. He falls down. He can't take a sack there in that situation because they have no more timeouts. They're going to bleed a bunch of time off the clock. So he gets up, is looking downfield to throw it away. Nobody's there. So he scrambles, which he did all night. Scrambles into the end zone, gets the game-winning touchdown. Yes, as we're showing right now on the screen, beautiful example of it. This ended up being a game-winning touchdown by Trevor Lawrence. It's in moments like that where I think to myself, what we do here on this show, on Football 301, what I'm doing with reception perception, charting the games, and really trying to understand this whole thing. It's just so stupid, right? Like, it's just so stupid because football is, and I mean it endearingly because I love the pursuit and I love what we do here. I love what we do on all the shows. I love my job, and like trying to not solve football, because in my personal opinion, we're never going to solve football, but really trying to understand it on a deeper level and convey that to you guys and have these really good discussions. But it does make it seem so fruitless, right? Because this is such a weird, bizarre game where goofy stuff like that happens, and this Jaguars team wins the game after what was another weird kind of messy drive in the final 2 minutes of this game. What a bizarre team that is 4-1 now, and is still so utterly mistake prone on offense, is so shaky from an operational standpoint on offense. Trevor Lawrence gets banged with 2 delay of game penalties. They're having issues getting play calls in. They're having issues getting guys lined up, killing plays from one to the next. It's all so shaky, and yet there's a couple of moments every single game from Trevor Lawrence. You saw a big reception from Travis Hunter in this one, a huge 33-yard catch down the sideline from Brian Thomas Jr. Like, oh yes, there's your superstar X receiver. That's what we want. That's what we were hoping to have. There's moments like that within every game where you just think, God, if they could just be normal the rest of the way, this team could be pretty badass, and they're 4-1 right now. Like, they are a winning football team. It has not been pretty offensively. It was not pretty offensively tonight. Let's fully dive into the Jaguars here and what we saw tonight. Starting with Trevor Lawrence's performance, he led the team. Both quarterbacks actually led the team in rushing yards. Both Trevor Lawrence and Patrick Mahomes, career high in scrambles and first downs gained on a scramble tonight. And it's funny. Over the years, like, Trevor Lawrence's athleticism has been something that we have said on this show, like, we'd like to see more of. We'd like to see him take off and run because he has that ability. He's a little bit of a clunky runner, like much less smooth of an operator than I remember him being as a college prospect. Maybe that is just because he's herky-jerky as a player in the pocket. He moves really slow, and then all of a sudden is sped all the way up. Liam Cohen has to be going crazy with this whole experience. We're only 5 games in. I'm not saying that, all right, Liam Cohen, Trevor Lawrence, the marriage is not going to work out. They're going to look for a new quarterback, anything like that. This is a growing experience for both of these guys, but there are just so many moments where, man, you just want him to speed that process up, both literally getting the snap and then after the snap. But when he did decide to take off tonight, he was very effective as a scrambler. Long run of 16 yards, the 2 touchdowns. Now, he did lose a fumble, but nevertheless, Trevor Lawrence was really effective as that scrambling quarterback tonight, which is something we don't normally see. Obviously, from a fantasy perspective, it turns in a monster night for him on this one because of those rushing touchdowns, because of the 54 yards on the ground. That's just a dimension, like a break glass in case of emergency, that is useful. And frankly, if we want to take it back to Liam Cohen's 2024 Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense, I maintain that one of the things that has been a sneaky value add and a big boost to Baker Mayfield's ability, somewhere along the way, some coach got in his ear, Baker Mayfield I'm talking about, and said, hey, that nonsense that you do where you drift out of the back of you drift out to the right when you're under pressure constantly, and he did this all the time in Cleveland. If you just knock that crap off, and when you get heat, you're a pretty decent athlete downhill. Just rip that thing up the gut, like of the offensive line, and get downhill. I promise you, you will be a more effective scrambler. I don't know if it was Sean McVay. I don't know if it was Liam Cohen, Dave Canal, somewhere in between. Somebody did that, and that was huge for Baker last year. It's been huge for Baker once again this year. I'm not saying that Trevor Lawrence is quite to that proclivity as a scrambler. Like I said, this was a career night for him as a scrambler, but it does make a difference. It does keep the offense moving and takes what are plays that maybe not everybody's in sync, as we've seen all year. Maybe not everybody is on the same page, but that can help. I'd like to see more of that going forward. I have my qualms with Trevor as a passer for a lot of different reasons, and I'm not one of these big Trevor backers. I think he is a very frustrating player, not consistently accurate, but the highs are still very high. In order for us to get more of those highs, smooth out the operation, I did like seeing the scrambling. I'd like to see him continue to do that. In the passing game, this was sounds crazy to say because neither one of these guys really went off in the box score necessarily. 80 yards receiving for Brian Thomas Jr., the most of the season so far. The first time he's cleared 50 yards receiving, I believe, in a game so far this year. So that's something. The 33-yard reception did most of the work. He went long stretches in this game without getting involved. He drew the PI that got them down to the 1-yard line that allowed Trevor Lawrence to get in the game-winning touchdown as that fall down scramble situation there. So you like to think that this is something that BTJ can build on. They are clearly, I think, now I'm not saying scrapping the work over the middle of the field completely, but while he's dealing with, whether it's the confidence, whether it's the wrist injury, whatever it is, trying to develop that part of his game overall, because as I've said many times, that was an area of critique in his rookie season, and obviously it's bled over to big issues this year. They're certainly scrapping a lot of that. He gets most of his targets on out-breaking routes. He gets most of his targets, his impactful catches on more pure vertical routes as an X receiver. So that's something to continue to track. Now, from a fantasy perspective, it's still going to make him very boom or bust if he's not getting those targets over the middle of the field. Think about all your favorite wide receivers that are crushing it in fantasy right now. They're getting targets over the middle of the field. BTJ is not going to get those. It's going to make him very boom or bust, which I don't think I'm breaking any news to you by telling you that that's how he's been in fantasy so far, and it's been a lot more bust than boom. But seeing him make that big 33-yard reception tonight, I just want to see him continue to stack moments and build that confidence to get him back on track to the player that I know that he can be if he continues to take steps in his development. On the Travis Hunter situation, we showed earlier the offensive snaps here for him, 65% offensive snaps in this game, which was certainly more than he had on defense. Man, you saw a couple of just awesome plays from him in this game. 77% route participation in this game for Travis Hunter, which is in line with what we saw last week, where he's at 74%. So we're trending in the right direction with the Travis Hunter playing time. We've got to get him more involved. I mean, it just, when he touches the ball, when he gets looks, he had the long reception in this one, the 44-yarder in tight coverage where he shows off what I said as a prospect was rare catching ability, rare tracking ability. He also shows off the specialness in the open field on his first reception of the day where he made a few defenders miss. Even on his third and final reception, he doesn't move the chains. It's short of the sticks, but that was another play where he looked really great with the ball in his hands. Just got to find more ways to get him involved. I noticed, I don't think this is completely up to date now in terms of the slot percentages, but I felt like I saw more snaps from him on the outside. That was something where Liam Cohen said, hey, actually, he's going to be mostly an F receiver only, a slot receiver only. Again, to me, it might not be reflective in the data, but I do think you saw more kind of intentional usage of him as an outside receiver. Would like to see more of that as well. To me, it's just, look, I think we just got to get these guys more involved. And you look at when their bye week is, it's not too far away. They're next to opponents, Seattle in week 6. They go on an international game at 9:30 a.m. to play Los Angeles in week 7. Then they have their week 8 bye. I'm really curious to see what this team looks like after their week 8 bye. Long layoff after an international trip. I think the week 9 on Jacksonville Jaguars are probably going to be more instructive of what this team is and who they want to be and how they want the Travis Hunter thing to play out than the first part of the season. I generally want to be really receptive to the idea of him as a two-way player because it's what he wants. And ultimately, what a bunch of bozos on the internet think is less important to the young man's career than what he wants. If he wants to give this thing a shot, he deserves the right to give it a shot. That being said, you just see a lot of, pre-snap errors are still there. Doesn't look like he fully knows what he needs to do on every single snap. He's such a great talent. I mean, he's a truly special wide receiver talent, but you're not going to maximize that talent if he doesn't know what he needs to do on every single play, So we'll see how this experiment develops here. As I said, fewer snaps on defense than offense. He just needs to be on the field for every single offensive play and see how it goes. Not on the final drive in terms of defense there. I noticed that for Travis Hunter. If he's not going to be on the field for the most important drive of the game on defense, what are we doing here? Yeah, I think the key is offense. It's probably the way things need to go here. Interesting stat from PFF here. Travis Hunter is the highest graded offensive and defensive player tonight. So good grades across the board. PFF grades are an interesting note, of course, but man, I thought he played great on offense tonight. I just want to see more of it. You guys know I want to see more of it. Obviously, he's a talent I'm very, very bought into, but just quick notes on the backfield. Not a big fantasy day for Travis Etienne, but no changes there in terms of his status as the top guy. 75% of the running back touches here. He has just been locked in over 70% the last 3 weeks. That we should continue to see that. So disappointing fantasy outing here for him, but the Chiefs are a tough, stout rushing defense. Not too concerned about Etienne at all. Still think he is a guy that is a running back, maybe low-end running back 1, high-end running back 2. Either way, he's a starter for your fantasy football team. All right, let's go to one other note just on Jacksonville before we flip to the Chiefs. Brenton Strange went out with a hip injury, left this game. You'll notice later on in the show that Justin Boone and the primetime tight end curse might live on. I'll let you guys decide on that one. But Brenton Strange, that was a bummer because he had a couple nice plays in this game, and he's been a really good player for this Jacksonville Jaguars team. So that is obviously an injury to keep track of because they do not have an immediate replacement at the tight end position from a pass catching standpoint. Okay, now let's go to the Kansas City Chiefs here, who scored 28 points, who lost this game. Again, same thing with what we said with Trevor Lawrence. Patrick Mahomes, awesome as a scrambler in this game. 6 carries, 60 yards, and a touchdown, 10 yards per rush, 15-yard long run. He's been awesome as a scrambler this year. It's been critical to their overall operation on offense. And it's been great for him from a fantasy standpoint as well. And I don't expect that to change. It's usually, hey, when the games really count, when we get to the postseason, that's when they unleash the Patrick Mahomes rushing. We're going to continue to see that because from an in-structure perspective, yes, having Xavier Worthy back helps. Tyquan Thornton continues to make some plays downfield. Travis Kelce caught 7 passes in this one. But from an in-structure perspective, they're still not all the way there yet. We'll see what it looks like when Rashee Rice gets back. But last week, I think, said more about the Baltimore Ravens and the state of their team and their defense than it did the Chiefs suddenly turning their offensive situation around. So we're going to continue to see the scrambling for Patrick Mahomes. I have no doubt about that. I also think we're going to continue to see a straight running back by committee in the Chiefs backfield. Kareem Hunt punches in 2 touchdowns tonight, had a long run of 33 yards, which Field Yates noted on Twitter, that is his longest run. That's his first, I believe, 30-plus yard run since 2021. So been a minute for Kareem Hunt ripping off explosive plays like that. Elsewhere, yeah, Pacheco looks good. He runs hard. He's physical, sets a tone. He played on 55.6% of the snaps and had 45.5% of the running back touches. Not good enough. That's why he's in the coping corner. And Kareem Hunt continuing to be involved at the goal line, 33% or 57% touches inside the 5 percentage here for Kareem Hunt. That's not going to change. They have the same in terms of percentage of runs for 0 negative yards. There's just not a big, I don't think that the Chiefs see a big separation between these two guys. So again, that's why Pacheco's in the coping corner. Rashard Smith, the exciting 7th round rookie running back, played on just 7.9% of the offensive snaps, but looked pretty explosive on his 4 touches, 4 opportunities. I'd like to see more of Smith. But he's going to be kind of in that Jerick McKinnon role that's cooler for the Chiefs than it is for your fantasy team. But still somebody that maybe you stash in case something happens to one of these other 2 backs. But it's a long way to go for the 7th rounder to really rip up the depth chart here. In the passing game, Xavier Worthy leads with 9 targets. He hurt his ankle at one point. He came in with a weird ankle situation, an injury there. So definitely something to monitor. I still feel like we didn't see the fully unleashed Xavier Worthy. He was a part-time player last week. Don't think he was a full-time player this week either. Again, route participation numbers are still kind of coming in. The one I'm looking at right now, he's over 70%, led the team with 33 routes, but still a lot of rotation in that wide receiver room. You know, Juju Smith-Schuster played, he was out there for 28 routes. Marquise Brown, 21, Tyquan Thornton, 20. Travis Kelce, 31 routes. Noah Gray, 22 routes. It's a big rotation there, and it kind of always is in Kansas City. I wonder if Rashee Rice, when he comes back in there, he just immediately takes those Juju snaps, or if he gets even more than that, something to monitor. But Xavier Worthy is a guy that I think you are starting because the opportunity is there. He leads the team in targets, as I mentioned, but still not fully healthy, still not fully ramped all the way back up. So that's going to take some time for him to get there. But I do think he is a guy you're starting right now. I just want to give a shout out to Tyquan Thornton. I think this guy should continue to get burn for this team. He matters. He makes deep receptions. He makes some clutch big-time plays at times. So I'd like to continue to see him. If that cuts Hollywood Brown snaps, if that cuts Juju snaps, I'm okay with that because Tyquan Thornton has brought something to this team from a verticality perspective. Not really a fantasy starter necessarily. I don't think based on the playing time you can trust him, but he makes one big play every single week, and I think the Chiefs have a little something in him there. So the Chiefs were up and down as usual from an offensive perspective. Nevertheless, I do like the way that Patrick Mahomes is. He's just making it happen, man. He's throwing passes off script. He's rushing right now. I think he's playing really good football the last couple of weeks. Really seems dialed in. And he's been a huge win for fantasy drafters because of that scrambling ability. So what a weird, wild game on Monday Night Football between a bizarre Jacksonville team taking down a big home win for the Jaguars, taking down the Kansas City Chiefs here, regardless of where the Chiefs are, how effective the offense is. You beat these guys, you feel really good. The Jags are 4-1. They're tied with the Colts for 4-1 atop the AFC South, just like everybody predicted, of course. So shout out to those 2 teams playing good football right now, even if it is very, very weird. I'm not sure if the Jags are playing good football right now, but they are winning games. And I have hope that once we get out of that bye week for them, we could begin to see something a little bit different as maybe they trim the fat. Some of these guys get more dialed in. They decide what they want to do with Hunter. Let's just get that guy the football more, man. I think everybody with eyeballs can see he's a really dynamic player.